The rain was coming down hard on the city tonight, each drop hammering the pavement like bullets from a Tommy gun. April 23rd, 2026. Another night, another stack of case files on my desk that would make a coroner weep. The name's Jack Cipher, and I investigate the kind of crimes that happen in the shadows of cyberspace. Tonight's docket was uglier than usual. 4 cases, all critical or high severity, the kind of night where system administrators wake up in cold sweats and CISOs reach for the bottle. Command injection vulnerabilities were running wild through the digital streets like a pack of rabid dogs. The first case landed on my desk with the weight of a body bag. CVE-2026-6349, a perfect 10 on the CVSS scale, though my informants gave it only a 1% chance of striking in the wild. The victim was something called iSherlock, developed by Giga. This was a textbook case of CWE-78 OS command injection. The technical breakdown was as clean as a mob hit. An unauthenticated local attacker could inject arbitrary operating system commands directly into the server. No credentials required, no fancy footwork needed, just raw, unfiltered access to the machine's nerve center. The attacker sends a crafted request to the vulnerable component, which processes the malicious input without proper sanitization. That input gets passed directly to the operating system's command interpreter, where it executes with the same privileges as the application. The scope of this murder was particularly nasty. Any organization running iSherlock was sitting on a powder keg. An attacker with local access could execute any command they wanted on the server. We're talking full system compromise, data exfiltration, ransomware deployment, or using the compromised system as a launching pad for lateral movement through the network. The kind of access that turns a single breach into a corporate catastrophe. The fix was straightforward, though details were scarce. Organizations needed to contact Giga immediately for patches or mitigations. System administrators should audit their iSherlock deployments, restrict local access where possible, and monitor system logs for suspicious command execution patterns. Any organization running this software needed to treat it as compromised until proven otherwise, but that wasn't the only body on the slab tonight. CVE-2026-41304 walked through my door with an 8.9 CVSS score and the same 1% probability from my street sources. This time, the victim was WWBN, a video, an open source video platform. This case showed the ugly side of CWE-78 OS command injection through web interfaces. The crime scene was the clone server.json.php endpoint in the clone site plugin. The technical mechanism was as sloppy as a drunk hitman. The endpoint took user-controlled input from the URL parameter and concatenated it directly into a wget command without any sanitization. An attacker could craft a malicious URL that broke out of the intended uget command and executed arbitrary system commands on the server. The reach of this vulnerability stretched across versions 29.0 and below of a video. Given that this was open source software, potentially thousands of video platforms were vulnerable. An unauthenticated remote attacker could achieve full server compromise, install backdoors, steal user data, or pivot to attack internal networks. The video platform could become a distribution point for malware or a staging ground for more sophisticated attacks. The prescription was clear as a muzzle flash. Organizations running a video needed to upgrade beyond version 29.0 immediately. Until patches could be applied, administrators should disable the clone site plugin entirely or restrict access to the clone server JSON PHP endpoint through web application firewalls. Security teams needed to scan for indicators of compromise, particularly unexpected wget processes or unauthorized file modifications. I barely had time to light another cigarette when the next file landed on my desk. CVE-2026-21571, another critical with a 9.4 CVSS score. Same 1% probability, but this one had bigger teeth. The victim was Atlassian Bamboo Data Center. This was remote code execution through OS command injection, affecting a who's who of enterprise versions. 9.6.0, 10.0.0, 10.1.0, 10.2.0, 11.0.0, 11.1.0, 12.0.0, and 12.1.0 were all on the hit list. The technical details were murky, but the pattern was clear. An attacker could remotely execute arbitrary commands on Bamboo servers, likely through improperly sanitized user input that reached system command interpreters. Bamboo Data Center was enterprise CI/CD infrastructure, the kind of system that sat at the heart of software development pipelines. A compromise here could poison an entire organization's software supply chain. Attackers could modify build processes, inject malicious code into applications, or steal source code and intellectual property. The network access vector meant attackers could strike from anywhere on the internet. Enterprise security teams needed to patch immediately or isolate Bamboo instances from network access. Development teams should audit recent builds for integrity, and security operations needed to monitor for unusual process execution or network connections from Bamboo servers. This wasn't just a single system compromise, it was a potential supply chain catastrophe. The night was far from over. CVE 2026-31843 rounded out the evening with a 9.8 CVSS score that made my blood run cold. The goodoneuzpay-uz Laravel package, versions 2. Below was the scene of the crime. This vulnerability was particularly insidious. The payment API editable update endpoint was exposed via root any without authentication middleware. Attackers could overwrite existing PHP payment hook files, essentially allowing them to replace legitimate payment processing code with malicious alternatives. The technical mechanism involved file upload or modification capabilities that weren't properly restricted to authenticated users. Payment processing systems were prime targets for cyber criminals. A compromised payment hook could redirect funds, steal credit card data, or inject malicious code into e-commerce workflows. Organizations using this Laravel package were essentially leaving their cash register unlocked and their front door wide open. The remedy required immediate action. Development teams needed to upgrade beyond version 2.2.24, implement proper authentication middleware for the vulnerable endpoint, and audit existing payment hook files for unauthorized modifications. Financial institutions and e-commerce platforms should review transaction logs for suspicious activity and consider temporarily disabling the affected functionality until patches could be applied. Tonight's cases painted a clear picture. Command injection vulnerabilities were the weapon of choice for digital criminals in 2026. Whether through web interfaces, CI/CD systems, or payment platforms, the pattern was consistent. Inadequate input validation leading to arbitrary code execution. The rain kept falling as I closed the last file. 4 critical cases, all demanding immediate attention from system administrators and security teams. In this business, you learn that the only thing worse than a vulnerability with a high EPSS score is one that doesn't need high exploitation probability to ruin your day. Stay vigilant out there. The digital streets never sleep, and neither do the criminals who walk them. This is Jack Cipher, signing off. Keep your systems patched and your logs clean.